Good morning. Good morning. Jesus, I look tired. I promise I'm not as tired as I look. But good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Gumball Sports Machine. The first one of the weekly episodes, or the daily episodes, maybe I should say, Monday through Friday, set from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Again, that's going to be consistent schedule every day, every weekday, going over the games, going over, you know, sports stories, whatever the case may be. And sometimes I may have a partner, sometimes I may not. But today is not one of those days I don't. As usual, one of the best sports heads that I know, if not the best, David Largo, aka D'Lo. D'Lo, what's going on, brother?
How's it going?
Oh, fabulous, bro, fabulous. Um, so let's get started. We get right into it. We got a brand new segment. I'm calling it something to chew on. Gumball, chewing on Gumball. You know, it it,
It's
again.
clever. It,
It, yeah, it's something. It's a base. Something it can change. It's definitely not stuck to it, but something to chew on is going to be the first segment we do every day, going over all the sports stories, the top stories of the day, things like that. Just kind of giving our initial thoughts on them. Some of the stories we go over will be actual topics going on into later in the show, but this will be just our initial thoughts on whatever's going on in the sports world. So, first story: Mavs take a 3-0 lead in the Western Conference Finals against the Timberwolves. Luka Doncic, Kyrie were magical last night. It was quite the opposite for the Timberwolves. D'Lo, obviously, we're going to get into this, in a little later, probably about 10 or 15 minutes or so. But initial thoughts on Game 3 and really the whole series overall.
yeah, I know we'll get deeper into it later, but just some surface level things. Um, Defensively, I know we talked about this. We thought that the role players for the Mavs would play a bigger part than Luka and Kyrie, but it has not looked that way. They've been phenomenal in all three games, really. And it's hard to say the same about the Timberwolves. They've looked not like themselves. The first two rounds they were phenomenal, but right now it just looks like they're out of gas. Um, and really, I don't know if they could turn it around at this point. I think they've dug a hole too deep to get out. So I'm sure we'll talk about it later in depth later, but that's just my initial reaction.
Oh, for sure. And quickly, do you think? Actually, you know what? No. We'll get into that when we get more deeper into the series. On the other side of the country, the Eastern Conference Finals, Boston takes a 3-0 lead, goes up. Drew Holiday again. There's something we'll get into a little bit later in the show. Drew Holiday makes it one of the biggest plays of the game, if not the biggest play of the game. Gets a steal on Andrew Nemhard, along with the and one he had to take the lead. D'Lo, well, initial thoughts on that series and Game 3 in itself, and how that's turned out so far.
I think the biggest takeaway, and again, we talked about this, and I called him out. Jason Tatum has gotten back to form. He's looked great in this series. Um, Two 36-point games. In the other one, he had 20, but Jalen Brown went for 40. So it's like, what do you really expect, right? Um, but he's been great. Defensively, they looked great. I think that the question lies is how healthy is Kristaps Porzingis? They said that he would sit games 1 and 2, and he obviously sat game 3. So where is he at in terms of timeline? And for the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton going out, that sucks. But their role players stepped up big in game 3. They had a huge lead in the third going into the fourth quarter, and they blew it. So I don't know if that's just an experience problem or what it is, but yeah, they've played great, and they've hung in better than I thought they would without Howie. So we'll see. But Jason Tatum being back is probably my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, no, he finally, and I have it in my notes. And again, we're going to talk about it later. But Jason Tatum finally has a statement game. Finally comes out. Finally breaks out. of whatever maybe slump, aka or slump, I guess you could say that he was in. So yeah, Jason Tatum finally breaks out. JJ Redick is now the betting favorite to land the Los Angeles Lakers job, head coaching job. Would that be a good fit in LA? Would he do well? Your initial thoughts on that?
It's kind of hard to say. In terms of, and I think we've spoken on this before, not on the show, but just like one on one. In terms of like just basketball analysis, JJ Redick was probably the best of the analysts that were on sports networks, right? And I think that knowledge comes from playing ball. Obviously, he was in the league for over a decade, so. Um, in terms of basketball IQ, I don't see a problem. I think the thing is really, respect. You know, you got 2 top dogs over there in LeBron and AD. And LeBron, we've talked about him. He's got, multiple head coach issues, and really hasn't had, like, a really solid one since probably Eric Spoelstra. I mean,
Yeah,
Ty Lue was
Tyronn Lue,
obviously
yeah,
great.
Ty Lue, yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of, like, keeping him in check, I think Eric Spoelstra is, like, the last one to really do it. Um, and so we'll see. I think that in terms of basketball IQ, he's a great fit. But again, it's just can he, like, group the players together and make them play cohesively? And I think that's the main issue.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. It's obviously his knowledge of the game is very high. His basketball IQ is ridiculously high. The question is, can he coach it? Some of the times the situation is, some people teach it better than they can coach it. In coaching, there's a lot of stuff. You have to deal with the press. Obviously, he's familiar with dealing with the press from being an NBA player, but dealing with the press, um, like you said, cohesion, bringing the guys together. Can you gel that team together? Can you bring obviously LeBron and AD, but as well as the role players, the others, I like to say, and bring them together and have them still be able to play with confidence and ability, and everybody have a role on that team. I believe it's harder. It's easier said than done. But hopefully they can now, whoever they do hire, whether it's JJ Redick, Kenny Atkinson, those are just two of the main guys that are really being talked about. But they're gonna have to bring that team together because that team did not look together at all this past season. So they're gonna have to bring them together, and they're gonna have to bring the best out of Anthony Davis because obviously he played a lot, but if he's not able to bring the best out of himself, this Lakers team has no chance of winning a championship. Per Shams Charania, the Phoenix Suns bring in Bronny James for a workout. The Suns have the 22nd overall pick in this upcoming draft. And Bronny James has been a big name, obviously, being LeBron James' son. And, you know, and a lot of people are saying wherever Bronny goes, LeBron is going to go. So, D'Lo, initial thoughts is, the Suns bringing Bronny in for a workout. Does that mean they're going to draft him? What do you think?
It 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 depends, right? Um, I think Bronny has tremendous upside, as a playmaking guard. Um, However, in his current state, right, I don't think he's a first round pick. I think he's high to maybe mid second round pick. And if you're spending a first round pick in only the hopes that you potentially get LeBron out of it, I don't know how well that would fit, right? Because what if he decides that, Bronny does said, "Hey, Dad, I don't want to really play with you. I want to do my own thing," and LeBron ends up staying with the Lakers or he goes somewhere else, right? And I think at that point you potentially blew a first round pick. So I like the fact that some of these major teams are looking into him to potentially have the chance of getting a LeBron, because obviously any team in the league would want him. But um, in terms of potentially wasting a first round pick on him, it's tricky. So we'll see. I like the fact that they're bringing him in because the Suns need guard depth anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but there are other teams where I don't think it would make sense for them to waste that high of a pick on him.
And this is also something we're getting get a little bit deeper into later in the show. But initially, it's the thought that okay, I bring in Bronny, LeBron's coming with him, their package deal. Um, is that going to be the case? I don't think so. Um, I just don't see how realistic that is. It's hard. It's going to be hard for LeBron to turn down $50 million. The Lakers are going to give him. But who knows? He is a billionaire. Um, so he may not go where Bronny goes. And like you said, D'Lo, does Bronny want to play with LeBron? Does Bronny want to play with Dad? Um, so that'll be interesting. And again, we'll talk about it more later in the show because I think this is a really interesting topic and really intriguing, and we can kind of go places with this. Um, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. And NFL, NBA draft coming up here in I believe July. So it'll be interesting. And again, we're going to get a little bit more deeper into it. So stay tuned for that. Finally, Super Bowl champion kicker Harrison Butker gets some backlash this week. He made some offensive comments towards women at a commencement speech he was making at a college. I cannot remember what the college is right now, but he made some might say misogynistic. I'm just gonna go overall offensive towards women. Um, so could this could this backlash possibly affect the chemistry that the Kansas City Chiefs have in that locker room?
I will say I have one thing to say after this segment, so just keep that in mind. But in terms of this, it's really hard to say. Obviously, comments that were made inexcusable. You don't say anything of the sorts, right? Um, and who knows, right? We could be looking at um, a punt god situation. Obviously, Matt for the Bills, he was accused of some pretty bad stuff, and he was released immediately, right?
Yeah,
Um, and so I don't think that the Chiefs would ever consider doing that. Because obviously Harrison Butker is one of the best kickers in the league, and releasing him would really hurt them. But um, in terms of locker room chemistry, I think it could. Obviously, a lot of the Chiefs players in there are fathers, and some of them have daughters, and that may throw some people off. Um, but overall, in terms of chemistry, it's really hard to say. Um, I would be surprised if the Chiefs let him go, but again, it's just something that we'll have to see. Um, it hasn't looked at anything in OTAs. I haven't like seen or heard anything. Um,
right.
but obviously, we don't have the in-depth locker room presence in there, so who knows? It could be affecting them. I assume Patrick will say something. Travis might say something like, "Hey, we don't need that kind of negative PR," right? But overall, I don't think it'll hurt them too much.
Here's the thing with me. Now, I believe every man should have his own opinion, right? I'm not going to judge somebody for what they think and how they think. Some of the reaction. Um, Now, Patrick Mahomes, you know how big of a Pat Mahomes guy I am. Pat
Hmm.
Mahomes and Andy Reid they could have had a better kind of response to it. They also just kind of said, it's his opinion, and they didn't really. I mean, obviously, you'd imagine they disagree with it, but they didn't let it be known. Travis Kelsey on the New Heights podcast, he let it be known. Yes, he has his own opinion. I don't agree with his opinion at all, but yes, he has his own opinion, and I'm not going to judge him for it. That's exactly what he said, um, and that's pretty much my way of thinking too. Yes, he has his own opinion. He's entitled to his own opinion. I don't agree with his opinion at all, and I also agree with Jason Kelsey said on that same New Heights podcast. He said, if my daughters are graduating and they're listening to somebody tell them that, oh yes, you're graduating, but also be ready to become a homemaker. If my daughters are listening to that, and they're thinking twice about their degree, I didn't do my job as a father. That's what Jason Kelsey said, and I really agree with that in those terms. So he can, like I said, he can say whatever he wants as long as the females in that crowd that were listening and the females around the world that saw that, as long as they know what they believe in, that's all. That's really all that matters. Because don't let somebody sway what you believe in because they're an NFL player or they make such and such money. So that's probably the biggest thing for me. But that is going to wrap up the first segment. Something to chew on.
Hold on, the one thing that I wanted to say, as you were mentioning that topic, both Woj and Shams tweeted out that Hall of Famer center Bill Walton just passed away at the age of 71 due to a battle with cancer. And so we just want to give our regards for Bill Walton and the family, and the loss that they are going through right now. I just wanted to point it out because it popped up on my Twitter notification. So just wanted to say that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Rest in peace to Bill Walton. I mean, Bill Walton, obviously a fantastic basketball player, a well-known, NBA champion. I loved listening to him be the color analyst on those Pac-12 college basketball games. I mean, he was just entertaining. Wow, that's insane. I had no idea. I like, you're breaking this news to me. I wouldn't even. So that is absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah, my prayers go out to the Walton family and friends. And oh my gosh, that hurts.
Yeah,
that one hurts. I mean, such a legendary basketball player, a legendary person. It's just one of those things. So yeah, prayers absolutely go out to Bill Walton and his family, as well as something I forgot to say earlier in the show. Happy Memorial Day to all that serve. We appreciate you for serving our country, protecting our country, allowing guys like D'Lo and I to do something like this. So my brother's in the Navy, so shout out to him. I was on the phone with him last night talking to him, and so yeah, huge shout out to him. Love you, bro. D'Lo, do you have any shout outs you want to make or things you want to say for Memorial Day?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think you summed it up pretty well. We get to sit here and talk and argue about sports while other people are serving, the country that we live in, and I think it's great. It's fantastic. I salute all of those people, and so big thanks to all of them, and I'm blessed to be doing what I'm doing, and it's because of them that we're able to do it. So again, happy Memorial Day to all those. And we thank you for your service.
Absolutely. Yeah. Huge shout out. Hope everybody has a fun, safe Memorial Day. Please don't drink and drive. I know a lot of people are going to go out, have, barbecue, have fun, which is absolutely okay. But please beware of the others. Don't drink and drive. Be safe. Okay. Now that the brand new first segment, something to chew on. Let me know what you guys think of the name. I know. Let me know what you think. But for now, that's what we're going to be calling it. But really quickly, now we're moving on to the Western Conference Finals. Now, what I'm going to like to do here is I'm gonna go over a quick recap of the game, or quick recap of the series, more or less. So, game 1, Luka magic happens. Luka hits the dagger to put the Mavs up 1-0 in game 1 of the Western Conference Finals.
So here we go again. He's going to get out of there. Luka did not want to see the second defender.
Doncic with McDaniels there. Shot clock at 7. Luka will make a move. Once it ripped. Doncic puts it in.
Game 2. Stop me if you've heard this before. Luka magic happens once again. 12 seconds remaining. Tells Rudy Gobert, let me have this dance.
The inbound will come from Washington. Reed is jumping up in front. Doncic has the ball, down by 2.
There's the switch.
Gobert is out there. Doncic maneuvers for the lead. Got it! Got it! What a shot!
Game 3, after being down double digits, Minnesota starts to make a run. They start to make a run, and that run sparked by the one and only Ant-Man.
The conference finals 2-0 with 2 road wins, 9.
And finally, after it gets close in the end. The MVP, in my opinion, Daniel Gafford, after Derek Lively goes out with a possible concussion or a neck sprain is what they're calling it. Daniel Gafford, after a huge block he made on Mike Conley, going up with a layup. Daniel Gafford sticks the dagger in the Timberwolves.
3. The Gafford screen against Gobert, tailed by McDaniels. Oh, Gafford! Up high, down hard, and a foul! Dagger!
So that dagger puts the Mavs up 3-0 and now have a very, very dominating 3-0 lead going into Game 4 in Dallas. D'Lo, your initial thoughts, not only on Game 3, but the entire series of the Western Conference Finals?
I think the really big takeaway for the Timberwolves is that their stars have not shown out. Outside of Game 3, where Ant had a near triple-double, trying to keep them in that game. Games 1 and 2, both him and Cat were abysmal. I mean, and you see it, Cat is shooting 27% from the field, and that's unacceptable. I mean, from a second star in the Western Conference Finals, 27% from the field, not from 3, from the field is just awful, right? Games 1 and 2, Ant didn't play any better. Game 1, Jaden McDaniels was their top scorer. Game 2, Naz Reid was their top scorer. And so while those guys are great, and we talk about Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid obviously won 6th Man of the Year, so it's not a knock to those guys to think that they should be leading scoring, right? But it's unacceptable from both Ant and Cat, Cat in particular. And so realistically, those two have to play better if they want any chance of even stealing a game at this point. They're on the verge of a sweep. And so we'll see. I think the Denver series really gassed them out. And so I hope that they can get back on track, get a game or two. But at this point, no team has ever come back down from 3-0. So we'll see. I think this series is just about over. But in terms of Dallas, Luka and Kyrie have been phenomenal. That defense has not bothered them at all. 2 games 1 and 3, both of them having over 30 points. Game 2, Luka had a triple-double, and that was obviously the game he hit that game winner over Rudy Gobert. And so I know we talked about it. We said the role players would be the biggest key if Dallas wants to win. But Luka and Kyrie have shook off this Minnesota defense, and they're making it look easy. And so big shout out to them, especially Luka. He's been phenomenal. Really this entire playoff run, he's been phenomenal. And so, I think at this point they have a chance to close it out at home. If they don't and Minnesota steals the game, I see it ending in 6 once they get back to Dallas. I think Minnesota will win Game 5 in Minnesota. And then it'll come back to Dallas and it'll end there. So I'm just really impressed with the duo of Luka and Kyrie.
My bad. I was waiting. I just want to make sure they wanted to say whatever they needed to say. 4 points is what you give me in the fourth quarter. In a crucial game 3, that's what you give me. 4 points. I'm not even talking about the rest of the game. 4 points is what you give me in the fourth quarter. 2 of those points was a garbage layup with 10 seconds remaining when nobody was playing defense. So in the fourth quarter, 2 points realistically. 2 points. That's what you give me. Ant-Man, oh, he's the next coming of Jordan. That's what you give me. 2 points. Don't get me wrong. He had a phenomenal third quarter. He was very good in the third quarter. I have it in my notes. Anthony Edwards and Cat absolutely outplayed Luka and Kyrie in the third quarter. They brought them back. That big dunk was a reason for it. But in crunch time, 4 points is what you give me. 2 points. 2 points is what you give me. That's the best player in the league. Some people has told me he's the best player in the league.
He's not.
He's not the best player on the floor.
He is not.
He wasn't even the best player on the Timberwolves yesterday. James McDaniels was.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to tell me he's the best player in the world? I'm not going for none of that. None of it. That's what you give me. And Cat, I don't know what he was out there just as a fifth man. He was out there as a fifth player on the team just because they needed somebody to fill the spot. 0 for 5 from 3. No, I think it was 0 for 7. I think it was 0 for 7 from 3.
I'm looking at it right now. It was 0 for 8.
0 for 8 from 3. This is what your big self give me. 0 for 8 from 3. 3-point contest champion. What do you say? Oh, I put about 1,500. I put 1,500 shots up a day. That's what you give me? 0 for 8. I call BS. You put up 1,500 shots a day. I'm not going for none of that. I mean, and here's the thing. Where's it at? I put it. Let me see if I can show the camera. Where's it at? This is what, for whatever reason, Minnesota refuses to do this. Refuses. Where's it at? I don't know if you can see that. I was backwards. Excuse my handwriting. Why are you not attacking Luka Doncic on the defensive end? He is the top 2 or 3 worst defensive players in the league. Why are you not putting him in the pick and roll, getting the switch, and attacking him? I'm talking to you, Chris Finch. Talking to you, Anthony Edwards. Talking to you, Mike Conley. What are we doing? What are we doing? Anthony Edwards is tired because he's having to guard Kyrie. Now, at the beginning of the game, he wasn't on Kyrie. He was on Derrick Jones Jr. because they wanted to give him a break because he needed oxygen in the last game. But if you're that dude, you guard Kyrie and you go get 30. So what are we doing? What are we doing? And then you get off Kyrie, start guarding Derrick Jones Jr., and that's the kind of night you give me. That's it. It don't make no sense. Luke was phenomenal again. I mean, another thing, why do you not bring 2 people to Luka Doncic at all times? Why is he still going one-on-one? Yes, Jay McDaniels is a very good defender. That's Luka MF Doncic over there. Don't let him go one-on-one with anybody. I don't care who it is. So, again, what are we doing? What are we doing, Minnesota? What are we doing? That's 3 games. That's 3 very close games. 2 in which you probably should have won. Definitely game 2 you should have won. But you decide to let Rudy Gobert go one-on-one with Luka Doncic. Like they're just out on the dance floor. What are we doing? It just doesn't make any sense. We have to start making smart decisions. And not we, but Minnesota. Well, it just doesn't. What are we doing? And I again, for the 8th time, doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So it's game 4 tomorrow, in Dallas. it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting how Minnesota adjusts, how Dallas adjusts. Kyle Anderson was very good. I liked Kyle Anderson yesterday. He's a big physical body. Doesn't really look like he can keep up with Kyle Anderson, but a big physical body. I mean, with Luka Doncic, excuse me, big, but again, tall, lanky. I mean, he made a shot at the end of the third quarter that just kind of I thought was going to give them a little bit of boost. But then Kyrie comes down, does what he does, gets him a little layup, ties the game back up. So again, it's just Minnesota has to be. They have to. That's common sense. I mean, attack Luka Doncic on the defensive end, tire him out. Make sure that Luka Doncic is taking oxygen just like Anthony Edwards is, because he's having to work. So again, and even if you bring two when Luka's guarding him, that he's still gonna have to run back and rotate. So, oh man, if hopefully they can take two, take one at least. But I'm kind of with one. If it takes game 4, they're gonna go back to game 5, win that, and then I can't imagine Dallas loses game 6 in Dallas to close it out. But we'll see. Hopefully Minnesota can make this a good series. I mean, both series 3-0. So I mean that kind of sucks, but I mean, I guess it is what it is. It's looking like a Mavs Celtics finals, so hopefully that's interesting. Next, talk about 3-0 series. 3-0 Boston. Boston goes up 3-0. Boston goes up 3-0 in this series. And a lot of it is done without Tyrese Halliburton. Game 2, the moment that all Pacers fans' hearts dropped and may have been broken, is the moment that Tyrese Halliburton did get hurt. That moment, that's the play that Tyrese Halliburton hurt his hamstring, tightened up, and then was out for the rest of that game, as well as game 3. And speaking of game 3, Pacers role players without their best player in Tyrese Halliburton, Siakam, McConnell, Miles Turner, Andrew Nembhard with 31 points. They're going strong. Wasn't enough for these big time Celtics. And I'll tell you what, big time, big play Jrue Holiday steps up at all times when he needs to.
And Horford to set the screen. Here comes Tatum, drives towards inside of Siakam, off the glass, missed it. Nembhard has it. Rick Carlisle says go. Nembhard drives into the paint, knocked away, it's stolen by Holiday. Siakam trying to get him, and he fouled him with 1.1 remaining. Rick Carlisle thought there was a foul. He's up.
Big time, big play Jrue Holiday. There's a reason why he has that name. D'Lo, your initial thoughts on Boston and Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, it's what you bring him in for. Is why you trade for Jrue. What he gives you day in and day out. He will be a menace on the defense. And offensively, he can struggle at times. He's pretty I don't want to say inconsistent, but he's typically around that 14 to 18 point range, and sometimes he'll give you a good game, like in game 1 where he had 28. And so he has these flashes offensively, but you bring him in for the defense. You bring him in so that Tatum and Brown can reserve their energy on the defensive end and go output that on the offensive end. And so he's phenomenal. And I mentioned it in the first segment. Jason Tatum has awakened in this series. 2 36-point games in both game 1 and game 3. And then obviously the 23-point performance when Jaylen Brown had 40. There's not really a whole lot you can do when JB's cooking. And you just got to give him the ball and get out the way. But we called him out. We did. We were saying, Can this be a number one guy? Can he lead the Celtics to a chip? Is he going to shrink in the playoffs? And um, Eastern Conference Finals, he has not. I mean, the rest of the playoffs, he definitely has, and he's been atrocious the first two rounds. But um, you know, in this Eastern Conference Finals, he's been phenomenal. And so maybe he saw us call him out. I would like to put that as headcanon. He saw
You
it.
know, you know. Hey, let's just say he did. Let's just say he did.
Um, but I'm still sticking to my statement in that um, offensively, he has not been as good this series, but Derek White is still the engine that makes this team go. And I will continue to stick by that. Um, the energy that he brings is phenomenal. Um, Al Horford has been incredible since Porzingis has come back. I think it's only a matter of time. I think they win Game 4 tonight, and they complete the sweep. Um, but again, is Kristaps healthy? Um, I don't know. With what it's looking like, the Mavs are coming out the West. Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively and PJ Washington. Those are all like super athletic guys, and they put them in the pick and roll and they get to their spots. And Al Horford is 38, and that's no knock against him. He's been incredible this playoffs, but I don't know if he has the athleticism anymore to compete with those guys on the defensive end. And so you hope that Kristaps is available in time, if that is the potential matchup. Obviously, no team has come back from 3-0, but um, you know the Timberwolves could be the first. I think they have the talent to do so. Um, but again, it's coming down to health, and we knew that with Kristaps the minute that they traded him. Is will he be healthy? Um, and right now he isn't. So we'll see. But I'm really excited for the Pacers. Um, if Hallie was not out last game, I think they would have won. They've been phenomenal at home. Um, Andrew Nemhard, oh my lord, 32 in Game 3 is incredible. 4 for 7. He had that really deep three at halftime. They had all of the momentum, and they kind of just let their foot off the gas. I mean, they were up, what, 19-20 at one point, and
Yeah, they were up 84-66 at one point in the third quarter.
they just let their foot off the gas. Um, but this team is exciting. The role players are nice. Obviously, you got sort of this three-headed monster forming with Siakam, Halliburton, and Turner. And then the role players, TJ McConnell played phenomenal not last night, the night before in Game 3. He had 23 points, 6 assists, 9 rebounds. That's on triple double watch, right? And
Yep.
he's a bench player. Nemhard, 32. We talked about it. Neesmith, he's phenomenal as well. He had a bad Game 3, but um, Obi Toppin, these young guys that are only going to continue to grow. So I think the Pacers are going to be a force in the next few years. I just don't think it's their time yet. I think the script writers are rooting for Boston. They want them to win. It'll be good for the NBA. Boston will finally pull ahead. The number of chips, they'll
Yep.
pass out the Lakers. I know everyone wants to see it, but
Oh man,
I'm excited for the Pacers, and I hope in the next few years they get one, because Indiana really deserves it. So yeah, they've got a bright future for sure.
yeah. No, I am. Here's the thing. I am fully part of the people who think Indiana should be up 2-1 right now. They should absolutely be up 2-1. Game 1, they should have won. Dumb turnover at the end. Jaylen Brown hits a wild three going to overtime. And once they go into overtime, my 1-year-old niece could have told you that Boston was going to win that game, right? Going to overtime, Jaylen Brown hits a big shot. all the momentum is Boston's way, and all the, I wouldn't say confidence, but all the energy from Indiana is just kind of down because they knew they should have won that game. That game should have been closed out. Now you got to go into overtime and try and win it again. Tyrese Halliburton with a couple late turnovers loses the game. Game 2, obviously Halliburton goes out early in the third quarter, about halfway through the third quarter, out for the rest of the game. It's hard, it's hard to try and bring the team morale back, team energy back after obviously a player like that goes out. That means that much to your team. So, Boston ends up winning by 16. Game 3, the role players played as well as they possibly could. Pascal with 22. Miles Turner with 22. D'Lo, you mentioned Andrew Nembhard just played out of his mind. 31 points on 12 for 21 shooting. He played absolutely a phenomenal game. TJ McConnell played it fantastic. The role players played as well as they could and still couldn't come out with the victory. Again, I think they should have won that game. The end one at the end with Drew Holiday really killed it. And then they get a stop. Jason Tatum misses the layup, as you saw in the clip earlier. And you saw Drew Holiday go make the big-time play, the play that he's made so many times over and over again, the big-time defensive play to seal the game. Bringing back PTSD for me. But, those players are what wins big-time games. Jason Tatum, absolutely fantastic in game 3. 36 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Great game. Jaylen Brown, not 24 points. He kind of kept up. And I've been saying, and I believe this, so far in these playoffs, Jaylen Brown has been the best player on the Boston Celtics. He's been the most consistent player on the Boston Celtics. And that's not a knock on Jason Tatum, but that's also the reason. That's also giving credit to Jaylen Brown where it's due. He's been the most consistent. He's been getting those 30, 32, 27, 28 points a game every night and having a huge impact. Derek White, again, like you mentioned him. Yeah, I know you're a big fan of Derek White. The glue of this team. When you need a shot, Derek White is there to hit it. Excuse me. Derek White is there to hit it. Al Horford just hits the biggest shots at the most important times. They're down by 4. Jason Tatum out to the corner for Al Horford at 3. Early in the game, he hits a 3. He hit 7 threes at the age of 38. Big-time shots. Big-time shot maker. So this Boston team is just filled with, and they didn't get a lot of production off the bench in game 3 especially, but they have guys who can come in and produce off the bench. Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser can come in and hit a 3. Luke Cornett could come in, play a little bit of defense, maybe catch a few lobs. They have people who can produce off the bench, but can they sustain it through the finals? Because I think you and I both agree the series is over. I can't imagine them going into game 4 and losing that game. Although in Indiana, that crowd is kind of insane. Very good crowd. So I can't imagine, but without Tyrese Halliburton, I don't think he's been ruled out technically yet, but without Tyrese Halliburton, things like that, it's tough. They have the better team with Tyrese Halliburton, but now without Tyrese Halliburton, and again, as well as the role players did play for Indiana, they still lost. I can't imagine this game, even being too close, if I'm being honest. So I'm kind of seeing a blowout from Boston here in game 4. That game's tonight, I believe 5:30 start time on ESPN. So again, but then will Boston be able to compete with Dallas? Obviously Derek Lively got hurt yesterday. We don't know how long he's going to be out for with the neck sprain. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch. And can Indiana get a game? Can they get a game, to kind of salvage some confidence, salvage some morale going into next season? Obviously, the season that they've had right now has been amazing. Obviously, nobody expected them to get to the conference finals. But them and Boston kind of had the same road to the finals. Indiana played a hobbled Bucks team without Giannis and a game without Dame. They played a hobbled Knicks team, no Julius Randle, no Bogdanovich. Josh Hart got hurt late in the series. Jalen Brunson got hurt in game 6. or Game 7, excuse me. Played a hobbled Boston, the same thing. Played a hobbled Miami team. No Jimmy Butler, no Terry Rozier, right? Then they go on to play. Why am I blanking? Who they play? Oh, they play on the Cavs, right? Cleveland, and Donovan Mitchell got hurt, right? Their best player, Donovan Mitchell was out, so they played a hobbled
Jared
team.
Allen has been out all
Jared
series.
Allen has been out. Thank you. That's another fantastic point. That's a big that can block shots, defend the rim, and rebound the ball and catch a few lobs. So he's another huge part of that team. They didn't play the Cats without him, right? Now they're playing the Celtics or the Pacers without Halliburton in Game 2, and so, and again, that's not a knock on the Celtics. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But when you go and you play Dallas, when you play, in my opinion, the best player left in the playoffs, and Luka Doncic, when you play Kyrie Irving, right? When you play a bunch of those young guys like Gafford, right? And like Derek Jones, are you able to keep up with them? Can you defend at a high level? So those are going to be the keys to that next series. So it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch. I think I would choose I think I would get Boston in 6, I think was my pick. So it's gonna be fun. The conference finals haven't been as fun. Obviously, 2-3-0 series. Although all the games of the Western Conference Finals have been close. They've been very good games. Even in the Eastern Conference Finals, they've been close. You know, obviously, Game 1 going into overtime. Game 3, 3-point game. Game 2, not as much, but it's been fun games. It's just the same side in 3-0 in terms of kind of close, contested series. So we're going to get more into that tomorrow for sure. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., right here on the Gumball Sports Machine. We'll be back at it, talking about Boston and Indiana and previewing Dallas and Minnesota Game 4. So, again, right back here tomorrow, 10 a.m. But finally, the last segment of the show, this is something I wanted to get into for sure. And I think the theme for this last segment of the show is, obviously we're gonna have a topic to talk about. Then we'll also be able to veer off, you know, maybe talk some things that aren't sports, maybe some crazy stories or whatever, you know, whatever it is, whoever wants to talk about. So, but topic of the last segment, again, per Shams Charania, Suns bring in Bronny James for a workout. Obviously, like, you know, you mentioned it in the first segment and something to chew on. The Suns need guard depth, right? You know, obviously you look for a point guard, a true point guard to help out these guys get, you know, Booker, Beal, Durant the ball in their spots in which they need to, you know, go score. So I don't know if Bronny James is that guy. He's, you know, young. He didn't have a very good college career. Average, I think, 5 points in college. So it wasn't, you know, not very impressive numbers. But the big question is, if, of course, Bronny James being the great LeBron James' son, if you draft Bronny James, is LeBron James guaranteed to come along with Bronny? So, D'Lo, I ask, if you had the opportunity to draft Bronny James, knowing that LeBron was coming right behind him, would you do it?
Absolutely. I mean, even in year 20, LeBron he's Bron, right? You saw the numbers he put up this year. He was phenomenal, right? But that's if it's guaranteed. And I think the thing that's throwing everybody off is it really guaranteed, right? I mean, we all know that LeBron wants to play with Bronny. But I think the thing that a lot of people has missed is that Bronny wants to be his own character, right? His real name is actually named after LeBron, and he changed it to Bronny, right? And so he played at Sierra Canyon. He is trying to do his own thing, and if you automatically assume that LeBron is just packaged with Bronny, sure, you'll take it, but I don't know if that's what Bronny wants, right? And who knows, like after this 1 or 2 years that he has with Bronny and then LeBron retires, is Bronny's career over at that point? Because we don't know the kind of prospect that he is. You mentioned his college career. Um, he didn't play that well, right? And so it's kind of hard to determine the value of Bronny when he's always tied with LeBron. And so um, it'll be interesting to see. However, I will say I like the Suns getting a workout with him because I think Bronny, if you do bring him in and LeBron doesn't come, he still offers you value. Because realistically, with the trio of Beal, Booker, and KD, you're not looking for a scoring guard. You're not looking for him to go out there and ISO ball, right? You're looking at him to be a playmaker and a three-point shooter. And I think that's what Bronny does the best. Um, and so on top of the athleticism, obviously, um, he's LeBron's son. He's gonna have it, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think the two things he excels at is why they're potentially looking at him regardless of if LeBron comes with him or not. Um, because he'll handle the ball, he'll play make for KD and Booker specifically. Beal kind of has to reprove himself in that role, obviously after that abysmal first round that he had. Um, but again, you're looking for a playmaker and you're looking for a three-point shooter. And I think he gives you that. So I like that they're working out with him. Obviously, the Lakers were in that report. That's where LeBron is playing currently. So, of course, LeBron is going to try and get his word in and try and get Bronny over there to the Lakers so he could play with him. But I will say there's been a lot of teams that are wanting to work out with him, and I saw this in the report, and Bronny and his team are refusing some of those teams, and he's only going to work with a select few, right?
Yep.
And I think that'll play a big part in it, um, on whether LeBron goes or not. Um, I know for the Suns, they don't have a whole lot of cap space. And so unless LeBron is, year 21 and he's looking for like a vet minimum to just play with his son, right? There's not really a whole lot there. So again, it's a tricky situation. I think if it's guaranteed that you get LeBron with him, you absolutely pull the trigger. Anywhere after like the 15th pick. I think the top picks are need to be geared to the future. You don't want a year 21 LeBron who's going to retire in a year or two and waste a top pick like that.
Mhm.
But if it's a guaranteed thing and you use a first round pick, try and win a ring with them, I would not be upset. However, it's just not guaranteed at this point. And so realistically, I see him falling to the second round and then one of those teams picking him up in the second.
You know, I agree with a lot of what you just said, and let me tell you what. If there's a guarantee, if somebody comes up to me and say, "Hey, the Suns draft Bronny James," LeBron will, no doubt, come to the Suns for a veteran's minimum. Where do I sign? Where do I sign? Where do I sign? LeBron brings you a 6'9", obviously 6'9" forward who can guard all five positions. A point guard, in my opinion, has the highest basketball IQ that's ever touched a basketball in this game. Right? Yes, he's not what he used to be, but he's still a very good player. And playing with Durant, Beal, and Booker, he doesn't need to be that 25, 7-7 guy he's been the past, 4 or 5 years. Right? He can be, a 16, 17, 10, 11 assists, 6, 7 boards. He doesn't have to, he doesn't have to be the main scorer. Now, does it fit? I don't know. Obviously, that's a lot of, I guess, egos on one team. But if they all come in and realize their same goal to win a championship, it could be a good fit. Who knows? But Bronny James, he intrigues me. Here's why. Obviously, his dad is LeBron James, right? Bronny sees the floor very well, just like his dad. And I'm sure you can, you know, I'm sure you can think of where he got that from. So Bronny James sees the floor very well, right? He's a good defender. He good defender, excuse me. He's a good defender. Yes, he's 6'4", little light, you know, not the biggest guy, but he's a very good defender. Has a long wingspan. I forgot exactly. I think it was 7'1", something like that. Long wingspan, right? So 6'4", long guy, can defend very well. And he can shoot the ball well, right? You know, obviously he shot very well at the combine. Now, again, there's nobody defending you at the combine, so it's, you know, it's a lot easier to hit an open shot when nobody's in your face. But shot the ball well at the combine, played well at the combine, had 13 points in that little scrimmage that they had. So the idea of Bronny James intrigues me, right? Can he go to a team, you know, and maybe kind of impress some people, you know, get some assists, maybe play some defense, sit down in the chair a little bit, hit some threes. I just don't think he'd get that opportunity here in Phoenix. I think he'd get that opportunity in a Detroit, in a Charlotte, maybe. I know they got LaMelo over there, but in a Charlotte, maybe. In a Washington, he'll get an opportunity like that. So again, it intrigues me. And then another point you brought up: does Bronny want to play with his dad? Does he want to play with his dad? Obviously, like you said, LeBron James Jr. is his name, but he is the one that changed it to Bronny, which is understandable, right? Having your father's name and your father being LeBron James, people are going to expect you to live up to that said name, right? So it's tough. It's a tough situation. But you know, it's interesting. It's interesting. Another point. We'll still got about 3 minutes. You know, D-Lam, Rich Paul said LeBron is an unrestricted free agent. Unrestricted free agent, right? So he has a player option. Sounds like he's going to opt out of that player deal, which is a surprise to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still possible for him to leave and go play with Bronny if Bronny is drafted other than by anybody other than Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So is there a possibility that LeBron leaves?
100%. Even if he doesn't go to a team where Bronny is at, I still think there's a possibility of him leaving, right? Obviously, the Lakers have really underperformed in the last few years, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint where exactly that's at. A lot of the Laker fan base would like to scapegoat, you know, D'Lo and AD and, you know, all of these guys. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint where the problem lies with the Lakers. Darvin Ham was the main scapegoat this season, obviously. Yeah. But I think it's a possibility of him leaving anyways. I think two potential teams that he would look at right now, regardless of Bronny, is both the Dallas Mavericks, because he would want to play again with Kyrie, or the Golden State Warriors to go play with Steph, right? I think those are two teams right now. Obviously, Clay is a free agent. He is potentially leaving. And so they'll have the cap space in Golden State, and then Dallas just to go play with Kyrie again. So I think there's the real possibility that he leaves anyway, but with the added incentive of Bronny potentially going somewhere and him wanting to play with Bronny, I think it's a definite possibility. And me personally, I'd like to see it happen. I think the Lakers should probably just blow up that team anyway. With the talent in the West right now, I don't see them competing. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility for sure.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. I think I'd like to see Bronny play with LeBron too. But how realistic is it? That's the question. But we're out. Appreciate you everybody for watching. D'Lo, you back tomorrow?
I will be back tomorrow.
10 a.m. We'll be here Monday through Friday. We're getting right. Every day, every weekday. Tune in, 10 a.m. Gumball Sports Machine. For D'Lo, for my boy D'Lo, appreciate you again. We'll be back tomorrow. Yours truly, Gumball. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Deuces.
Peace out.